All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Jets Flight Path, our 10th episode since returning. Of course, I'm Brian. Joining me, as always, is Paul. And a lot of news to get to this week, but the biggest Jets-related news is, of course, Marcus Maye being franchise tagged. Going to play under the tag this year for about $10.5 million. Hopefully, Joe Douglas and company can work on a new, longer-term deal for Maye, who is, besides Quentin Williams on the Jets defense, currently the second best player. I would say he's better than even a returning CJ Mosley, since he hasn't been on the field really in like 2 years. Having Maye back is crucial. He played throughout his rookie deal, consummate professional, wasn't a diva like others in that secondary over a few years. He deserves to get paid, and this was one of our biggest, concerns heading into this offseason in terms of retaining players. Maye was at the top of the list, and that's one thing to check off the box.
Yeah, no, Marcus May, he was, in my opinion, an intricate part of this defense this past season. Again, as you said, he is outside of Quentin Williams, probably the best player on the defense. I really don't count Marcus or C.J. Mosley, but Marcus, because C.J. Mosley's only played for 3 quarters in his Jet career, and coming
Yeah,
back from his injury and COVID, we got no clue what he's going to be like. So last time they used the franchise tag was on Muhammad Wilkerson 2016, who I was surprised to learn is out of the league.
oh yeah, he's done. He's
Yeah, he
absolutely done.
the Jets used the tag on Muhammad Wilkerson 2016, and they used that time to negotiate a long-term deal, and
Hmm.
it never lived up to its hype. And it seemed like once he got paid, so did the skills went, and bounced around after Jets cut him to Green Bay, and then last year he didn't play, so we can assume that Muhammad Wilkerson is done, but. No, I can absolutely see the Jets using this as just, when you're playing poker, you put a chip on your cards just in case you want to hold on to them. And in this case, that's what the Jets did. They put a chip on their cards to hold on to Marcus May for a little bit longer, try to negotiate a long-term deal, and hopefully it's a win-win for both sides in this negotiation.
Yeah, definitely. I think he'll fit really well with Robert Sala's defense, and it's a headache that is avoided. You don't want to like add to what's already on the plate for the Jets in this offseason, what they need to address and what they need to fill out on that defense. I'm sure they have a lot of players in mind that they want to acquire. Perhaps not big names that most Jet fans are looking at, thinking that the Jets are going to make big splash and everything. As we talked about with the press conference last week, it's about building through the draft, and you supplement that with, some lower key free agent signings. Uh, but with that, let's just go right into it. This past week has been a bloodbath. You had plenty of teams that were over the cap. The Jets now with the Marcus May signing brings them back down to about 69, 70 million, but they may increase that once again with some few cuts that we'll get into. Um, but a lot of teams making cuts. The Titans cutting Malcolm Butler um, and Kenny Vaccaro. You had the Saints cutting Janoris Jenkins. The Giants cutting Kevin Zeitler and Golden Tate. So a lot of teams trying to maneuver around, work around the cap. The Chiefs themselves, the Chiefs converting like what was it, 17.5 million of Pat Mahomes money into like a signing bonus, so it doesn't count against the cap. And they also released both tackles, Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. So a lot of things going on, but with the Jets, you know, with the franchise tags going around, unfortunately, Allen Robinson got franchise tagged, but a few names did not in the receiver market would be Kenny Galladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Curtis Samuel. Now, Paul, we've been talking, here and there about all these receivers. You've been big on the Chris Godwin train. I've been big on the Allen Robinson train. Doesn't look likely that either of those guys will be Jets in 2021. But out of the three receivers I mentioned, who do you think is most likely to be signed by the Jets? Like a Joe Douglas signing, realistically.
Most likely to be signed would have to be Curtis Samuel, just because he doesn't bring drama to the team. He
I
doesn't
agree.
he's decent at his role. He can be used as a number two. That pressure's taken off of him. Maybe you elevate Mims to one, or like you even said, maybe you draft a receiver um,
You
in
know
the
who he
draft
reminds
and
me of, Samuel?
what that.
He reminds me of like early career Emmanuel Sanders. Because if you can recall with Pittsburgh,
Ah, yeah.
Sanders was never really, and throughout his career, was never the number one guy. But he was good enough to
Right.
like be starting opposite and was always consistent. And heading into the offseason, earlier episodes, I wasn't that big on Curtis Samuel, but I think going the route of signing him in at probably less money than Juju or a Galladay would cost, and also drafting a receiver, and you like we said, we have Mims. I don't realistically see the Jets cutting Jamison Crowder. I just don't see that happening. Um,
Exactly.
and that would just that would be a very solid receiving core there of like Crowder, Mims, Samuel, and say a guy in the draft in the first 3 rounds. I think that's the way to go now that the big names like Robinson and Godwin are off the table.
Right. Well, and I can see Curtis Samuel being a Jets signing. However, I think we're in both agreement that Juju Smith-Schuster has got to go elsewhere. You can get him nowhere near this
Mm,
team.
yeah, no, he's not Joe. People want
I
to connect him, but he's not. He doesn't fit the Joe Douglas mold.
Right, exactly. Um, I would like a Kenny Galladay. The only thing that concerns me about him, his injury,
Yeah.
potential injury issues. Last year, he only played 5 games. 2019, he had his breakout year where he started all 16 games, had 65 catches for 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns, and last year he got injured, and but
Hmm.
maybe they can get him on a flyer deal, maybe a prove it type of deal, maybe a 1 2 year deal. But I think ultimately Curtis Samuel makes the most sense as a Joe Douglas signing, and it gives Denzel Mims a chance to develop as a number one, and if not, again the Jets are still in rebuilding mode. If Mims is not a number one, okay, well then next year Crowder's contract's up, you move Samuel to the slot, put Mims at two, and then you go out and get a number one receiver. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of flexibility this offseason and
No,
next
definitely.
offseason if the
It.
Jets have to.
Yeah, and they have the cap space to do so, and they're not going to blow the entire cap this offseason because I have to remember they have to save about 20 million in cap for the draft, at least. So, and the Jets do have more draft picks than usual. 2 first round picks, so it might be a little bit more than 20 million in total cap space that they need to save up for the draft. But other than receiver, there's been plenty of you know targets now available to the Jets, and I'll just list a few names here, and we could like go over. Obviously, right? Joe Thuney from New England, left guard. It's the most obvious. I think if you polled Jets fans, he would be the top target. And some drama on Twitter is that Joe Thuney's sister is liking Jets related tweets, so it could be a sign of things to come. Hopefully, there's always smoke, there's fire. But some other names, Richard Sherman, obviously we know of. Running back Jamal Williams is available. Also Aaron Jones, but I don't see the Jets after what happened with Le'Veon going big on Aaron Jones. Um, Jonnu Smith, we went over before. Yannick Ngakwe, former Jaguar, former Viking, former Raven, could provide some pass rush abilities for the Jets. Marlon Mack, uh, Kwan Williams, who's a slot corner, because it doesn't look likely the Jets bringing back or interested in bringing back Brian Poole. Kwan Williams played in San Francisco under Salas, so that could make sense as a new slot corner. Wouldn't be opposed to that. Another currently former 49er, we'll see, Kyle Juszczyk. He was also seen social media posts liking Jets related tweets. Apparently, like Wayne Corbett tweets from the Jets official Twitter account. So we'll see what that's about. Matthew Judon, um, Keanu O'Neal, Carl Lawson, who's been connected with the Jets as well, Bud Dupree, Kevin Zeitler, who I mentioned previously, the Giants cut. I wouldn't mind him now. Like, here's an idea. Obviously, the Jets need to sign Joe Thuney. Like, they got Marcus Way out of the way. Like, got that off the checklist. Next, I feel with tampering period opening up this Monday on the what was that, the 15th, that they need to
I think so. Yeah.
be aggressive with Joe Thuney and make him a Jet. Aside Mekhi Becton, I feel you keep McGovern at center. You cut Alex Lewis. You keep Van Ron, you cut Alex Lewis because you can use Van Ron as a backup, and then you go after and sign Zeitler for that right guard spot, and then boom, your O line is set. You have some depth there with Van Rotten and Chuma Idioga and Cameron Clark there, and that's one less headache again to alleviate themselves headed towards the draft about a month and a half away.
Yeah, and I mean this whole off season, the Jet, and we've talked about it. The Jets are just very flexible, and
Mm-hmm.
Joe Douglas, at least in last offseason, put a big emphasis on O line. Obviously, taking Mekhi Becton with the first round pick, and then getting Cameron Clark
Mm-hmm.
with that fifth round, and then a lot of Jet fans were like, well, why are they signing McGovern and George Fant from Seattle, and I don't understand why, and this is not just Jet fans in general, but New York sports fans in general, or why are we signing a backup from Seattle? He was the best fit for the team, and
Yeah. And he wasn't,
you
yeah,
can't
and
you
at left
yes
tackle, and you move him to right. And a lot of people, it was hilarious, like thinking, like, well, if the Jets draft, one of these young guys at the time, didn't know it could have been Wirfs or whomever, uh, like one of the O linemen, and ended up with Becton. Well, maybe have them at right tackle and then have the veteran at left. Like, no, this is why you're a dumb fan. Like, you just like you don't get it.
yeah,
Like George Fant is a solid player, and it just didn't work out in Seattle at left tackle because the entire O line was garbage. He didn't play well on his own accord, but you see, like he was one of the best. Like outside of Becton, you could argue that Fant was the best offensive lineman on
absolutely,
there besides him. So,
yeah, absolutely.
like you're saying,
Um,
Douglas is about winning in the trenches, and he's just going to continue to do that.
well, and another thing is, oh, this player like this Jet too, like. I think a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on like, oh, Allen Robinson was liking all this Jet stuff. He's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
a Jet. Uh, well, no, because now the
Yeah,
Bears
he
just
got
tagged
tagged.
him,
Well,
or
yeah,
fullback from the 49ers I right, but oh, the fullback from the 49ers just like this Wayne Corbett treat. Okay, yeah, maybe he was a Wayne Corbett fan. That doesn't mean he's coming to New York, and a
it
lot of
means they're
people
coming
just
to New
try to
York.
link.
He's coming. Kyle Juszczyk's coming. You heard
To,
it here first.
all
Breaking
right,
news.
well,
According to sources, and my sources being Twitter.com likes of pro athletes, Kyle Juszczyk is signing a 2-year deal with the New York Jets. It is official, and it's a done deal, basically.
all right, well, I'll hold you to it. We'll see what happens,
Just like
but
Trevor Lawrence will be a Jet.
well, you know what? Hey, you said it was a 40% chance, so let's see where that happens.
Yeah, we will.
Um, but
But what do you think of
no,
like those
so
players I listed? Like any of them pop out that besides just like the social media stuff like Juszczyk, but like some of those guys like Zeitler or Jonnu Smith or Yannick Ngakwe.
no, like again, they're all guys who are good contributors, but for their asking price, I just no, I'd rather just build through the draft. The Jets have in the past made the sexy free agent signings. Like you said, a
I don't
Le'Veon
think those are
Bell,
sexy free. Like I
a
gotta
true.
disagree there because it's not like the Jets signing a guy like like Kawan Williams, who they've now been connected to, and this is unrelated to like social media, but just like common sense. He's a free agent that Jets need to fill the slot corner position. He obviously played under Robert Saleh. Like that's not like something like ooh wow. It's not like when the Jets brought back Revis and Cromartie and went after this. Like it's not spending like pissing money away and throwing it down the drain, going for big names only. It's yeah, you build through the draft, but every team every single year signs free agents. Like you have to sign free agents to fill out a 53-man roster. There's just no other way. Even the
Well, that's
Packers
true.
all those years, like yeah, they built through the draft. They also signed some free agents. It just doesn't go noticed because like a name like a Kawhi Williams isn't a big name. It isn't Joe Thuney. So to me, like I think besides the expected at least one of these big name O line guys, I think yeah, Douglas is going to be reserved in his approach in free agency outside of the offensive line and sign guys like Williams, like because it's not going to be a sexy signing. It's not going to it's going to be on the ticker for about 1 minute on ESPN and NFL Network, and it'll just go away. It'll be a footnote. But like that's the way it's got to be.
Yeah, no, you're right. We've just been burned so many times through free agency. It's just
Yeah.
finally we got a GM that has some semblance of an idea of how to draft, and I would just rather build my team through the draft and fill out the rest of my roster through free agency. But that's just me.
Yeah. No, and I think that is the approach 100%. It's just like we'll see when everything starts opening up with the tampering period. But apparently, I mean, guys who are already free agents are starting to sign. The big news that like last Saturday after our last episode was put up, J.J. Watt signing with the Arizona Cardinals of all teams. I did not see that coming. I was myself thinking Pittsburgh. You were saying Green Bay. It just seems like an odd place.
Right, and at this signing I didn't understand because you know J.J. Watt. I think he wants to win championships.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Arizona is the place to do it. I still think they are the third best team in that division. Um,
Behind who?
I-
Wait.
Behind the Rams
Uh huh.
and behind Seattle.
Well, that can change shortly,
But
but we'll get into
that can
yeah, yeah,
we'll get into that.
yeah.
But on paper, I still think Seattle and LA are a step above
Sure.
Arizona. Now that doesn't mean Arizona is not trying to build a winning culture down there or a winning team, I should say. Watt definitely helps that out, but I still think that they're a piece or two away from contending
Mm-hmm.
for the NFC West. Now that could happen in the draft, that could happen in free agency, but I just did not like that signing from the start. I thought he'd be better off in Green Bay, like you said, maybe Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Tampa might have been a better spot for him. But and again, uh, these guys try to make their money when they while they're playing, and maybe Arizona just offered him the best deal at 31 million for 2 years, with
Yeah.
20 what is it, like 23 million guaranteed,
Something like that. Like it
something like
just
that. Yeah.
it's he's
So
he's going to be there with I believe Chandler Jones. So like their pass rush is going to be pretty insane, Arizona. But they still have no secondary to speak of, and
yeah.
longtime future Hall of Famer Patrick Peterson isn't looking to be brought back. So they got some things to fix down there on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, like yeah, you know they could pass everywhere because they have DeAndre Hopkins and they like to spread the ball around. They still don't have a run game or an offensive line really to speak of.
Right.
So they, like you said, like eh, I think and we'll get into it. I think right now, currently, even with how things are right now, they're the second best team in the NFC West. But that's still right now, even with Watt signing there, they're still behind the Rams. Like they're still in one of the tougher divisions in football, arguably the toughest in the toughest conference as well. It's a very odd place for him. Now, another signing that I mean, yeah, makes sense, but isn't going to change a whole lot is Mark Ingram, former Raven and Saint, signing a 1 year, $3 million contract with the Houston Texans. Now, the Texans have not had a true bell cow running back that they can rely on since Arian Foster. Since then, it's just been plug and play with um, running backs that just come and gone, and the latest one has been David Johnson. Now it's Mark Ingram. This isn't a signing that's going to sway Desean Watson into staying, but listen. It gives Ingram another shot at starting again. So, good for him. But I just think it's just the Texans being desperate to show Watson that, hey, we're trying, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they are a dumpster fire down there in Houston, and we talked about it many times throughout the show, or throughout the weeks, I should say. You said they haven't had a running game in forever. Well, they still don't. I think Mark Ingram, he's a great backup at this point in his career.
Oh, they're still going to be
To
horrible.
rel-
Yeah.
to rely on him as a potential starter when David Johnson goes down yet again, you're asking for trouble.
Mm.
Especially now that if Deshaun Watson does eventually get traded, you're asking a lot for a running back who has seen his best days go behind him.
Especially behind that O line, that's still
It's
atrocious.
still horrendous. What you got to figure? What is he going to get out of it? Yards per attempt. 2 yards, 2.5 yards if he's lucky. Like it's
Two
gonna be
point
rough.
2 yards per attempt all season long. Like
Yeah,
that's
on
it's not going to be pretty, and I will be avoiding him in fantasy. Paul, you can go right ahead and take him in the fourth round if you wish.
I will make sure to take him in the third because there will be a run on running backs.
Oh boy.
I already see it now. I was talking just to go off topic real quick. I was talking to one of the guys in our league, and he goes, "Yeah, man, just what's your strategy for the league this year?" I go, it's usually the same thing. Just get my receivers, and then worry about pick up rookie running backs. He goes, "Yeah, man, I've just been going on a run of running backs, and I trade them out when I need them." And this guy's been consistently a bottom feeder year in and year out. So whatever. But sorry, going on.
Uh, we'll see with that. Still months away from that. But yeah, sticking with Houston, segueing right into Deshaun Watson. Just we talked about him ad nauseum at this point, but I mean we've called it since the rumors been going on since Watson wanted out. We were saying it's just going to be a progression until Houston starts to realize, oh yeah, he really wants out. And this past week, poor David Culley, the new Texans head coach, first time head coach in the NFL, and he has to deal with this on his plate because the organization was a terrible mess before he got there. He's still a complete disaster, but he kind of has to manage this and saying that, yeah, Watson is our quarterback right now. So their tune has absolutely changed. And senior beat reporter John McClain has basically said and reiterated that it's not going to. Watson won't go to Carolina. He won't, even though Carolina may try to pull some crazy stuff. Um, he won't go to San Fran or Denver or Chicago or Washington because they cannot guarantee, like the Jets or the Dolphins, a franchise quarterback there at 2 and 3, which would end up being traded if that is the case because they would have their options of whoever's there, whether Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence. Here's the thing: at this point, now I don't think did we or propose our percentage. I know we did that with Lawrence, but of the
No, we
Watson
haven't.
trade. All right. So where would you be percentage wise that Watson gets traded? Because I feel like I'm at this point 100% that he gets traded before the draft.
Right.
But what's the percentage that he gets traded to the Jets specifically? It's
I
rough.
gotta. I'm gonna put it at uh, I'm gonna put it at 45%, and the reason why I do that is,
Hmm.
Joe Douglas is doing due diligence on the quarterbacks now. I think today it was reported he was up in North Dakota to see quarterback Trey Lance's pro day
Yep.
at North Dakota State. Zach Wilson is on their radar, obviously, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. So,
Hmm.
you know, eh, this deal could have been brokered 2, 3 weeks ago when Deshaun Watson's value was at its peak. It
He
wasn't
keeps losing value because the Texans are
it
dumb.
wasn't it wasn't crazy that oh, okay, maybe we'll give up 4 first rounders to get him. Now, I wouldn't have wanted it, but that was seemed like what the asking price was, and now it's, I don't know, like, hey dude, you lost out. Okay, I'll give you 2 first rounders, I'll give you a second, and I'll give you a third next year or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have to take what they get. I think it's a 45% chance, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Miami, now that maybe the asking price is lower, get a little bit more aggressive on the Watson deal,
Hmm.
and potentially swoop in at the 11th hour and take him away from the Jets. Not that it's, I'd be ecstatic, but we still keep our draft capital, and we're building through the farm, as you could say, or through the system, and we're able to
That
develop our,
that
our
would be a
players.
nightmare scenario having because, and I mean we could talk about it as well that there's been rumors, and I've called that the Patriots want to trade for Jimmy G, bring him back into the fold, even though they just signed Cam Newton the other day. But Cam's not going to be the starter. He can compete and he could be a backup, but his starting days are well behind him.
At
And
14 million, I don't know about that.
well, it's a lot. It's very incentive based apparently, and it's
Oh,
also
okay.
another 1 year deal. So I think just the worst possible case scenario, even with the Jets, like you said, keeping the draft capital, building through the draft, once in a lifetime, scenario with a top five quarterback going on the market like this, possibly being on the market, um, too, because we'll get into Russ and shortly, but which is unprecedented. You have this situation with Watson. If he goes to Miami, you already have Allen in Buffalo, and you might have Garoppolo back in New England, and the Pats are just getting everybody back from, they were the team with the most people missing last season due to COVID, who opted out. So it just seems like setting up for another. The Jets are in the basement again, even with their rookie quarterback, and yeah, built to the draft, but you got to just go for it. And right now, for me, I would put it at 60% chance that the Jets do end up trading and landing Watson at this point because
All
Houston's going to
right.
get desperate as teams are going to pro days. I don't know. I didn't see, was like any Texans management at Trey Lance's pro day?
No, but I don't believe so. But
Okay.
Seattle's GM was there,
Yes, I
which
saw that, which is very interesting.
yes,
But
which
just
a
to put it,
perfect segue.
yeah,
Uh,
but just to put a ball on the Texans. They're basically a stupid organization, and I'm happy for their existence in their current state because it takes away all the negativity of the past 10 years of the Jets being a circus, being a clown show, because it now falls squarely on Houston and how they're just ruining their opportunity here to do right for Watson. But we'll we'll just cover that as it goes along. The story's still fluid. Rumors are flying. Speaking of rumors, as you just mentioned, Seahawks GM is there. Now, why would he be there at a pro day for a quarterback when he has a Hall of Fame quarterback? Well, as you mentioned a few weeks ago, when there's smoke, there's fire. Wilson was very frustrated with the lack of offensive creativity, the fact that his O line's completely garbage throughout his career, and he has to always scramble and make plays like a magician that he is. And apparently Seattle's management, it was reported, wants Wilson out as bad as Wilson also wants out. And a few days
what does
ago,
that mean, though?
it just means amicable difference, like just. separate. Kind of like A-Rod and J-Lo today.
Is
They
that what
just.
is that what they mean though? Because I still don't believe that Russell
I
Wilson wants to leave Seattle. Ah,
if an opportunity present like Chicago's defense is vastly superior than Seattle's.
I
Um,
agree.
they have Robinson back now. Their offense is kind of comparable because O line I don't know, like both Chicago and Seattle's O line is pretty bad. The run game, honestly, I would give it to Chicago with Montgomery, showing up later in the season, and they'll
Right.
have Tariq Cohen back, who is a very good, one of the best pass catching backs in the league. They have Cole Kmet coming on, who's a solid tight end, which Seattle has never had. Um, and it's like I think if that opportunity presented itself, now we also heard potential Russell Wilson shortlist of teams. One was Dallas, and that's been filled up with them signing Dak Prescott long term. Like to me, it just makes sense. Like I think, like I said, if the opportunity presented itself, if the trade was on the table, hey Russ, we have this deal in place. We're going to get a lot of return for you to go to Chicago. I think he would approve on that. Um, and you had like a few days ago, sports betting sites taking off the bet that Wilson will be traded off their off their sports books, and you also had the Super Bowl odds for the Bears going up in their favor. So there's something there. Like there's things going on behind the scenes that we as fans, as civilians, are not privy to currently. But again,
As civilians.
when there's smoke, there's fire, and I think if you were to say right now, uh, who do you think gets? Do you think like he actually gets traded at all? Like, where would you put that percentage wise? Like, at all? 'Cause I
I
don't think Russ will end up being a Jet. One
no,
thing,
he's
like
not
that's
going to be
zero
a
percent.
Jet.
But like,
I
as just a trade,
I just don't. It
you think
came out
they'll keep?
that he doesn't want to be traded, but he gave a list. So
Mm-hmm.
like that right there kind of fucked me up. Like obviously, if you give your team a list, like doesn't he have a no trade move or no movement clause as
I
well?
believe so.
So he doesn't want to be traded, but yet he gives a list of the 5 teams he would accept to trade to. Okay, so does that mean he wants to go, or like, hey, if you
I
end up
think he
deciding
wouldn't
that this
mind
is
it.
best for business, here's where I want to go. Okay, so that right there is kind of weird. And then for Seattle's management to come out and say, it's less than desire to get rid of him, but if it's there, it's there. I honestly, it's such a mind fuck. I'm gonna put it as a coin toss, 50-50.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have no clue where he's going. But if he does go, Chicago makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. I would say it's 80% chance that he gets traded to Chicago.
80% chance. That's interesting.
I think you know what? I think he ends up getting traded before Watson, and that's gonna make fucking
I
Houston
can see
panic.
that.
Yeah,
I can
because
see that
they're
happening.
just dumb. I think Seattle and Chicago are going to come together. Chicago's going to have to give up a lot, but they can't piss away another great defense. And this is what happens throughout our I feel our lifetime. Every few years, the Bears build up their defense and they're great, and they don't have the quarterback to get them there. The one time they did, it was Rex Grossman, and they lost in the Super Bowl. And then they had Jay Cutler, and then they ended
Yeah.
up losing in the NFC title game to Green Bay, and they're building up again. And this past few years have been squandered because of poor quarterback play under Trubisky. Going after a
Right.
future certified Hall of Famer who's only going to turn 33 this December, still has plenty of years ahead of him. You have to go for the Bears. Like you are in win now. You gotta be desperate. I feel like the GM's been there forever. And Coach Matt Nagy's on the warm. He's on the lukewarm seat. It ain't hot just yet, but it's getting there. And they need to get back into the playoffs. They need to start winning.
Well, Matt. Like I said, Matt Nagy. He's a supposed offensive guru. Now, granted, he doesn't have a quarterback to help him along. But you gotta, as Paul Heyman used to say in ECW, hide the weaknesses and show the positives. Okay, well your weakness is in quarterback play. All right, but what can he do well? Maybe he can throw the screen well. Maybe you run it through up the gut. Maybe you do this. So I would say Nagy's a little bit more on the hot seat. I would say it's starting to burn a little bit. Um, but if they get Russell Wilson, they'll have to give up a little bit, at least a first this year and next year, maybe a second this year. But then there'll be no excuses, and then we can really see what a Matt Nagy offense with a quarterback can do. You know,
And you know what I could
and
send? It's going to be
saying what you said
hilarious.
about Houston panicking, if Russell Wilson does indeed get traded before Chicago, you really gotta wonder, what's gonna happen with Watson's value. Like, are the Jets or Dolphins gonna say, okay, well, we just got a quarterback, or we just saw a quarterback who won a Super Bowl, took his team to another one, get traded to the 49 or the Chicago Bears for two firsts and a second. We're gonna give you two firsts and 2 seconds, and that's our
Hmm.
final offer. And a far cry from what they could have gotten. And Houston's
From
gonna
what
have to
they
bite the bullet and take it.
reportedly originally wanted. Oh, we want 4 first plus. Yeah. Okay.
And they could have gotten it. The Jets are in serious. If reports are true, Jets had the fucking ammo to fire.
Well, a lot of
And
teams, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago, were lining up, leaving voicemail messages, and Houston wasn't picking up. And, oh,
yep,
how quickly things change when realization sets in as we creep closer and closer to draft day, where teams at a certain point are just going to tell Houston, yeah, fuck off. We're going to just take our guy here. And then Houston's stuck with no first round picks, nothing, a disgruntled quarterback who will not be
who
playing.
won't play for him?
They won't. He will not. Just like what Carson Palmer did with Cincinnati before they shipped him out to Oakland. It'll be the exact same situation, except a lot worse, and it will be a black guy that will remain with the Texans organization for years to come. They won't attract any free agents other than guys that towards the end of their career looking for a last contract deal, like we're already saying with Mark Ingram. It's it's not good. Like they need to just do right. And when people saying Watson needs to play out his contract, Houston, he just got his money guaranteed. Like it doesn't matter. Like he doesn't want to be there. Deshaun Watson has done nothing but wonders for the Houston Texans, whose best quarterback before him was Matt Schaub. Like it does. Like they've never truly built up the defense. He never had an O line. Just trade him away and get a boatload in return. But they're squandering it, so they'll get what they deserve, according to Joaquin Phoenix Joker, 2019.
You
Um,
get what you fucking deserve.
yeah. But moving on to that, back towards the Jets, reining it in because well, more news will develop. Um, apparently, plenty of teams. Before we get into other Jet news, plenty of teams have been contacting the Jets. According to Albert Breer, 8 teams specifically contacting the Jets about Sam Darnold. It says, while many expect Jets to wait until after the pro days, Breer says the team is cognizant that teams could fill their quarterback holes in free agency, so that can make them move quicker. Washington, Chicago, and San Francisco were some of the teams mentioned. Um, Now, here is the thing: does Darnold get traded before Wilson gets traded?
Well, that's the thing. Um,
Before any other
you have to.
big moves had, because the only trades this past week you've had the big giant bust of the Tennessee Titans from last year, swapping 7th round picks, shipping him to Miami, and the Patriots bringing back Trent Brown from the Raiders for a 5th round pick. The Bills are done. Nice 1 year run. The Pats are back. They'll be winning the AFC East. But anyway, with Darnold, uh, they gotta get it going.
I think. I think they're waiting on one or two things to happen. They're going to wait for Russell Wilson to get dealt because
Hmm.
I think that can severely cause an uptick in Darnold's value potentially.
Yeah.
You look at a team like the 49ers who have been linked to Sam Darnold, which would not necessarily make him the starter. I've also read that they plan on keeping Jimmy G around. They bring in Darnold. They
Uh,
have a competition. Again, how true that is, I don't know. But the 49ers are always have always been linked. The Washington Redskins have always been linked. Carolina Panthers. So there's definitely teams out there, and I think the best move for the Jets would be to just wait it out, let Joe Douglas do his due diligence, and then if the 49ers come around with a Godfather offer, like, all right, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. We will take pick 23, and we will pay pick or Sam Darnold, and we'll give you number 12.
yeah,
I think you make that move.
I
You
think
jump
so
up.
too.
You jump up 11 spots in the draft. You pick at 2 and 12, and it makes the
Would
Deshaun Watson trade a little bit more valuable. Like instead of a 23rd pick, okay, now you can get 2 and 12. All you got to do is send over
would you
Deshaun
also
Watson.
do for Washington's pick trade Darnold in the 23rd for Washington's, I believe, 19th, and Washington also thrown in a third this year. Would you do that?
I don't think the value's there. To only move up 4 spots and you just go to 19. You know what?
To
Even
get that
thinking about
extra
it
third
now,
round
that
pick?
yeah, we do. But I even thinking about it now, I think that might be a low ball offer with what we give to
Hmm,
49ers. You might just want to throw the third round pick so they get Darnold, they get 23, and then they get the lower of the third round picks for number 12.
okay.
I mean, I'd swing that deal as opposed to the 49ers because now you move up 11 spots in the draft and you can get that receiver who might be sitting there or that cornerback who they so desperately need
Hmm.
opposite of Bryce Hall. So it's an interesting proposition, but I think the best bet for Joe Douglas and the Jets to do would just be to wait it out,
Right.
let Joe Douglas do due diligence with all pro days and talking to free agents and this and that, and then you decide what you want to do with Darnold. You got to have a plan in place first before you do something with the most important position in not only football but in all of sports.
Yes.
And it would just be another Jetsism to just
Another
dump
blunder.
your quarterback and just go into the draft like, all right, we're gonna go Watson. You got to have the conviction that Zach Wilson's your quarterback or Trey Lance is your quarterback, and okay, we're gonna draft him. We're gonna move Darnold, and we're gonna use that second pick to support. And I trust Joe Douglas to be the man with this decision because I would be in the fetal position right now, crying, not knowing what to do. But no, it's definitely going to be an interesting Darnold season trade. Whenever Watson or Wilson gets traded, I think one of those two move, you're going to see more movement on Darnold because that's another quarterback that's off the market. And oh wow, I can get this young quarterback who's only 24 years old, cheap.
Hmm.
All right, I'll take a flyer on him. I'll give you a second, or oh, all right, I'll give you a first if you package your 23rd with it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that.
No, I think that would be one of the best scenarios, as you mentioned, with trading with San Francisco. But it's just another wait and see. We've been saying for the past few weeks, Darnold, Wilson, Watson. It's just got to wait and see, and it's just speculation at this point. But uh, again, staying with the Jets here, moving on towards some other news. Now, the Jets have really paralleled the Mets, I feel, in terms of injuries. Also, the Yankees as well. New York sports has just been plagued with injuries during the this past decade, the 2010s. And the Jets, this past few years, I feel under Bowles and Gase specifically, injuries are just piling up, and they couldn't really feel the competitive team. They're signing guys off the street before games. So the news broke. Rich Samini reporting that the Jets announcing the creation of the Athletic Care and Performance Department, hiring Dr. Brad DeWeese to oversee the department, which includes trainers, strength and conditioning, and nutrition staffs. DeWeese is a former Olympic strength guru who worked most recently at East Tennessee State. This comes after a quote thorough review of our sports performance areas per general manager Joe Douglas. The Jets also hiring Mike Nicolini as a head strength and conditioning coach. He was Robert Sala's get back guy on the sidelines in San Francisco for a few years. I I don't know much. Like, it's hard to, like, we can evaluate, like, oh, this player or this coach because we see them, but you can't really say, like, behind the
We're
scenes
not
stuff.
doctors.
We're not doctors, and but it can only be a positive for a change in scenery, a change behind the scenes because the injuries have been piling up for whatever reason, and perhaps new perspective, you could say, with new medical professionals in there, new staff established. Douglas. I feel Douglas is really his approach as a GM is just like not dictatorial, but like presidential. Really, like he's the head guy, and hopefully per other sources, uh, that Woody Johnson, who's just posting the greatest clips. For anybody who does not have a Twitter account or anything, sign up for a Twitter account if you're a Jets fan and just follow Woody Johnson. Yes, Woody Johnson, the owner
Well,
who knows nothing of football,
again,
but his intern running the
yeah.
account is just doing a tremendous job at posting Jets clips of Calvin Pace recently. Um, Bilal Powell, I believe, was earlier today. Highlight clips. It's just great memories over the years of that. But yeah, Douglas with his conditioning coaches, I think that's positive.
Yeah, and again, I can't say much about this hire. I'm hoping that the good doctor is a good doctor, and
Yes.
he teaches our guys how to stretch, and we don't have
This is
our
how
own
you
little
stretch. All right, I'm gonna show you real quick, and just threw my
that
back
he
out.
that he knows how to catch heart murmurs or whatever Trent Williams is dealing with. And
Right, right.
to get back to your point with Woody Johnson, I was reading those tweets today, and it's like he's talking to a brick. Like there's no. It just sounds like he's just saying these things. Like on Twitter, you can be like, oh, so and so, hashtag New York Jets, hashtag this and that. Woody Johnson's tweets are, I talk to the
They're
fans,
into
and
the void.
everyone loves Bilal Powell.
Yeah, no, you didn't.
Bilal gets it done. Who did it better? And then it's a picture of Joe Namath and Revis doing their cover. The best one, the best one he tweeted was Sean Green to the house.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Cincinnati playoff
like,
game.
and then he did another one. Rest in peace, Joe Knight. And it's when
Joe McKnight. Yep.
Joe McKnight blocked a fucking punt. That was on opening night too.
Yeah.
But like hashtag New York Jets. Like, do something.
Well,
Gotta
it's
have the
he
hops.
needs to
It's
yeah.
like,
It's just
fuck you talking
captions.
about?
It's captions and like media attached to
We
it.
have to do this more often. What?
It's
Pick
not
off the ball,
yeah, it's not
win
engaging
games.
the fans like on Twitter like any Jets fan. It's just like I'm gonna put like he told his social media manager who's getting paid $8 an hour to just go ahead and post all these nostalgic clips that we have. Please make me look good for the fans,
Yeah.
but like don't engage these maniacs. Do not at one of them or quote tweet them or anything like that. Yeah, it just seems very odd. He's taking the Stephen Cohen route, but it is good to see
I don't know. I
just to see
just
those clips and everything. I don't care
I
if it's
just
from
want
Woody
Jets.
or whatever.
I just want to see the Jets fucking win football games. Take these tweets and shove them up your ass, Woody. Just fucking give us a winning team.
just, just stay out of Joe Douglas's way, and all will be well.
Yes.
But just to
Yes.
wrap up tonight's show, we're going to
Fucking
talk about
dummy.
uh, one thing that's been apparent in Woody Johnson's at mentions besides Jets fans spamming Watson to the Jets. Please bring Watson to the Jets. I want Deshaun Watson to the Jets. and a bunch of edits of Desean Watson in Jets uniforms, is the growing sentiment of a portion of the fan base that wants the Jets to build a new stadium. Now, the Jets have a shared 50-50 split of MetLife Stadium after spending about 35 years renting out Giant Stadium. Before that, they were in Shea Stadium and in the Polo Grounds. They never had their own home field. They're the only team in the NFL to never have their own home stadium. They've always been sharing with another tenant. And back in 2004, it was proposed of the West Side Stadium in west side of Manhattan that was shot down by Sheldon Silver, who's now in jail for being a scumbag, who blocked MMA for years in New York, and James Dolan, of course, logically, because he owns the Garden, and it would take away. But yeah, the growing sentiment of Jet fans wanting their own stadium back in New York, or I think honestly anywhere. I don't think another stadium would be built in New Jersey, but
No.
came upon this article that was tweeted at Brooklyn 929 Sack Exchange of 2026 New Jet Stadium, written by Ira Hernowitz from last year, circulating again, just going over the positives and the potential of a new stadium. Now, at this point, at this juncture, West Side Stadium, some concepts, if you look back to the original designs and everything, it was supposed to like bring the Olympics to New York. Which could you imagine? Could you imagine the Olympics in New York City? The traffic for the Super Bowl, which was held in New Jersey, was terrible enough around the city. Imagine Olympics. But anywho, this new stadium, a lot of design elements were incorporated into MetLife, including the four scoreboards surrounding the stadium. The one thing that wasn't, which was mentioned in the article, was a retractable roof. Now, to me, football is meant to be played outdoors unless you're in a area like Arizona where you just cannot play in that heat, you will die. Or like Miami, they built on Hard Rock Stadium, the kind of semi roof. But like if you're a northern team, like imagine putting a retractable roof on Lambeau Field. Like what kind of pussy shit is that?
No,
Honestly.
you're right.
To me, like if you're gonna build another stadium, a lot of people were upset. Oh, how come Yankee Stadium isn't domed? It's like, what is wrong with you? Go watch on TV. Go be in a box. Like
Yep.
it's just to me outside. If you can't handle it, just don't go. But other than that, MetLife Stadium has had a lot of criticism with its terms and looks and design, and just going there personally. Many a times been to Giant Stadium, been to MetLife
It's
Stadium.
fucking horrendous to get in
It
and out.
Yes, but also the stadium itself, like in upper bowl seats.
They're
The low
terrible.
they're absolutely horrendous. Worse than Giant Stadium, because Giant Stadium you were like right over the top of the action. You could feel like if you fell down the steps, I mean you die. You feel like you would die if you tripped once. You'd fall right over the edge. But like at that old school stadium, it was a lot louder at Giant Stadium. It was just a lot better. Like MetLife Stadium, the only good thing I could say about it is the concourse area and like the food selection, which is overpriced as with everything. But other than that, like it would be nice. And the article points out the possibility of building a stadium adjacent to Citi Field over in Flushing, Queens, similar to how Philadelphia has the setup of they have the arena there for Flyers and Sixers. They have Citizens Bank Park for the Phillies, and they have the link for the Eagles. That's one possibility. However, I was thinking another thing because Queens is kind of out of the way for all the New Jersey residents, and the Jets would theoretically they're not going to move their Atlantic training facility in Florham Park, which is one of the nicest training facilities in the league. They wouldn't move that back to New York. But if they were to move and have their own home stadium in New York, why not Staten Island? Why not like the north tip of Staten Island, currently where the defunct minor league ballpark of the former Staten Island Yankees, which no longer exists. Right there, you have a perfect, beautiful view of the city. It's great access, not great, but like easier access to get to from people on Long Island, from people in the city, from people all over New Jersey. I think like a spot up in that area would be perfect for a new home field.
Well, to to add on what you were saying before about Manhattan. I don't remember if it was the Jets that wanted a stadium in Manhattan or if it was just the city in general. But could you imagine Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Monday evening,
Mm.
the traffic that would be in that city just
Oh, it'd
for a
be terrible.
fucking football game? It'd be horrendous. I mean, it's already bad enough
It'd
as it
be
is. You put your
nice, but like not the traffic, but like the
I
stadium
disagree
itself,
completely.
like the to have a stadium in the city.
Uh,
But
Manhattan is not built outside of the Garden. Manhattan is not built to house a fucking sporting event. I'm sorry, it isn't. What do you? Where are you gonna get this room from?
well, it would be in the like train yards where it was originally planned. Apparently,
Then
like I don't think there's space any like no longer there because since then, like since
right.
2004, there's been a lot of like development, a lot of new skyscrapers since. So it's unrealistic, and that's like the article pointed out. Like the traffic would be insane at this point. Uh, yeah, what was it? It's like it's over on the west side, like I think by the Javits Center, if I'm not mistaken. Which would just be terrible. But like honestly, Queens wouldn't be bad, but it would be kind of a trip for like a lot of people. And but like I said, I think Staten Island would be a very loyal setup.
I uh I think, like you said, the best bet would be to either build it across the street from the old Yankee Stadium. I guess put it where the old Yankee Stadium was,
Oh,
but that's kind of sacrilegious
oh,
in itself. I understand that, but isn't it just a vacant lot there?
it's a heritage field. I think I no
What is it?
like heritage field. It's like a park, and like I don't think any park that's
Great. Now is
established,
the
you're not gonna put something
now is
there.
the land for the new Jet
I,
Stadium.
I don't think
Um.
that's a possibility.
Okay, so Bronx is out of the question again. Like you said, when we went to Shea Stadium or City Field, Shea Stadium, City Field, same fucking thing.
Hmm.
You had City Field
And a bunch of car
and
lots.
a bunch of car lots, and then you look maybe 2 miles, 3 miles down the road. There's the U.S. Open setup.
Hmm.
Why not put the Jets Stadium right in the middle of those two?
Yeah, well, I'm looking at
The
it
room
like
is
right now.
there,
The like
and it's a
you
New
can
York team.
you can clear out like all like this parking lot here. I'm like talking visual. But like all these like shit, like these car lots and everything. Bulldoze them down. Put the stadium either there or put the stadium right next to City Field, right off the freeway there, and
Yeah,
that's it. Like I
it's
think
easy on, easy off.
yeah, and you got the train right there. Parking would not be an issue. Traffic always is everywhere with in terms of the game day experience, no matter what. But I would not be opposed to it. But like, I think the biggest deal would be the cost. A new stadium would probably cost around minimum 2 billion nowadays compared to hundreds of millions
Listen,
back then.
here's the thing, and this is one thing that I never understood with MetLife. Old Giant Stadium housed how many people? Like 60,000.
I want to say 70, yeah, maybe 72.
Okay, so actually it housed 80,000.
Oh wow.
80,000 people, but it was a nice stadium. It was enclosed. It felt good
Hmm.
in terms of stadium wise. This MetLife Stadium is at what, about 85?
Yeah, it is bigger.
MetLife Stadium houses, let's see if my internet wants to work.
82.
82.5, so
Yeah.
about 2,500 more people. 82.5. So it doesn't seem as enclosed or as what's the word maybe you can help me, as closer
Um,
to the action. The higher you go, the further away you get. In MetLife or in Old Giant Stadium, as you went up, it seemed like you were right on top of the stadium
well, you
or
know
right
what
on top
that
of the
is?
field. The higher you got up.
That is a an issue with all. modern stadiums that aren't like state of the art. Like I don't know about these new
Right.
like the recent stadiums like Minnesota or Atlanta or LA. I don't know about them, but like MetLife was like at the tail end of like these newer stadiums where they would not build over like like a concourse over the top like levels. They would not level it like these older stadiums that were built in like the 70s and 80s that were like all concrete and everything that would encapsulate the sound of the fans like really well and would sound like it would be like almost like a tube or like like a tunnel. It would just like hold the sound in. These new stadiums, the sound just dissipates. The fans are further back, the ones that are up in the bowls and everything, and
Right.
that's an architectural issue over the years because of for safety concerns. And that's similar to what Yankee Stadium, the new Yankee Stadium, compared to the old one. The old one, you had the second level and the third level, like everything was stacked on top of each other, and it was louder. The new one, people are way further back. The higher you go up, which is it makes for a worse game day experience. Like yeah, the sight lines. I sat in the lower bowl at MetLife. It's a great experience. The sight lines, you're like right there on the action, but anywhere else, it's not good, and it doesn't. It has to do also with winning, which the Jets have not experienced a whole lot of over the years. But it's if they had their own stadium, like I'm so sick and tired of regardless of being there in person or seeing on TV that they can't be bothered to change the stupid NFL Shield logo at midfield to put the Jets logo when they're playing there. It's not hard. They can change out the end zone so easy, but they can't do midfield. They used to do the midfield logo at Giant Stadium back in the 90s and early 2000s, I believe, where the Jets had their logo when there was still AstroTurf there. It's turf now. It's just it's just the pebbles. It's field turf. It's not real grass. So a lot of the things like if the Jets had their own stadium, they could perhaps have like what the Yankees or the Mets do, and more expansive like Ring of Honor, like around like the out exterior concourse and everything, and showcase all the history of the Jets. It would be nice, but it's extremely unlikely that the Jets opt out of MetLife.
Yeah, it's just a lot of convincing the taxpayers and politicians, and again, the Jets haven't been a winning team, and
Hmm.
I don't know, but yeah, whatever. It is what it is. We'll continue to go to MetLife to be, filled
We'll
with misery.
continue MetLife only to leave 5 minutes into the third quarter to beat traffic as the Jets are losing by 3 scores. But anyway,
There it
that kind of
is.
wraps it up for this week, eventful week, like we covered. Paul, if you want to send us out.
Busy week, so I don't know about next Friday. I know Brian will be on the road, but we might be able to put together a
On
short
the
episode
road
in the middle of the
again.
week. I maybe get it out a little bit earlier, but we'll see. But if not, we will talk to you relatively soon, and give us a follow on Twitter at Jets Flight Path, and we'll talk to you next episode. Thanks.